Hello and welcome to the first episode of Star Wars Alliance in 2023. I'm your host, Clay, and with me, like always, of course, is Katie. Katie is sitting on something juicy, which will happen at the end of this episode. Just want to go ahead and throw that out there. So, and this is more so for the people watching live on YouTube, because those who are listening to the podcast, you'll see in a separate episode that will most likely come conjuncture with this one, of what that surprise will be. So if you have already looked at the feeds, you already know what it is. But
And
Katie,
if you're on Twitter, you already know what it is. So
that is also true. But Katie, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I got a fresh haircut. All of the hair has been chopped off again. Um, watched the Bad Batch this morning. I finished the Heir to the Empire trilogy because I was so excited to read it, and I was on vacation. So I am done with that trilogy. Spoiler alert, that episode's coming. But it's only on Heir to the Empire, so no pressure, Clay. But like, you
I
don't have to
I
read all three, but yes.
I will eventually read the other two because I do have at least one of them, the first one, in the reprints.
Yeah.
I need to get the other ones. And it's always been something that we have kind of talked about. And some of the things that might be lingering in the sense of like where Filoni and
Favreau.
Favreau, yes, thank you, could possibly lead into in this sandbox of the Skywalker saga and things like that. So I definitely want to read it for sure. Um, my birthday is coming up, and a gift to myself might be, of course, the audio credits to listen to those books anyway. So I will definitely
Yes.
get it within this year. And then you and Scott reminded me that Goodreads is a thing, so I downloaded that. Am I am tracking my reading at like 3 or 4 different apps. Personally, like myself, I'm doing the notes app and like looking at the smaller detail stuff. Then I'm going to Goodreads and doing like the actual volumes and trades and books and novels that I'm
Yeah.
reading. And then I'm doing Twitter with the visual media known like the comics and the comic challenge. I am all over the place with these challenges. And I feel like I'm going to end up hurting myself with how much I'm having to keep track with everything. But I will get
Don't
through
hurt yourself. Okay, this is for fun. This is for fun.
it.
But
Oh,
no, y'all, seriously, Heir to the Empire, the trilogy is available on Audible as the unabridged set. There is an abridged set still on there, so you have to make sure that you're getting the right copy because the abridged set, no bueno. So there's that. You can get the book in the mass market, or you can get them in the Essential Legends collection, which is the trade paperback copy. And then if you're feeling bougie, I have the 20th anniversary edition for Heir to the Empire, which has all of Zahn's storyboarding notes. So that is the next one I'm going through. After I read Vampire Weekend, which is by Mike Chin. He sent me an advanced reader's copy of it. So I'm gonna read that and review it.
wow.
So that is
Look
coming
at
out at the end of January.
Katie.
I know.
Man,
I feel so
making those
special.
big moves, getting those advanced copies. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. But let's go ahead and move forward. Of course, this isn't just talk about Area of the Empire or
Ah,
books and challenges and everything else, but also just on a side note, as far as of course the GUA paperwork that we always love to do. You know how it is. The schedule will be down below in the show notes. Uh, we have 8 shows across 7 days a week on a weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly basis. As far as this week goes, I would say, in a very Ranger Alliance fashion, first episode of the year, and I completely forgot to pimp it out. So here it is now. Go check out mine and Joe's retro review of the 2017 Power Rangers movie. Go check it out on Ranger Alliance. And also with me, Joe, and Chris at the end of this week, we have an episode coming out on a walk through the multiverse talking about the 2022 reading challenge that we all did. So that is loads of fun. And we have our basically set up for 2023. We also chose some winners for that challenge. So maybe a little incentive to join up on this challenge as well.
I
But
know
yeah,
I will be keeping track of my comics this year because it was like spur of the moment for me to do all my comics last year, but I'm doing it this year. So
that's awesome. So it is a lot of fun. We had a lot of listener interaction with that one. We got to read off some answers that to some questions that I had asked at the end of the year. So really, really cool stuff there. And yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our first and only, well, not only news segment. We do have something else that we can talk about, and I think we will just for the sake of you know topics to talk about.
talking about it.
Um, this first piece of news, I feel like it was assumed because he is a major character in Lucasfilm right now. But Pedro Pascal had shared with, I forgot what the actual news article was or who it was from,
I think it was GQ.
um, GQ, that he had to get permission from Lucasfilm to even be on The Last of Us on HBO. Uh, I feel like this is kind of a uh, a practice that a lot of actors do when it comes to some of their bigger properties, being a part of bigger properties. Uh, and I think it would suck even more if he did take The Last of Us, which I totally am supporting him in. Um, it would suck if that did delay The Mandalorian even further than from when the last time we saw Mandalorian.
Right. Because like the biggest thing to consider, right, when you're looking at all of the Mandalorian stuff is that Pedro, and he talks about it in the article, Pedro's face isn't seen on screen a lot, and he didn't want to go into too much detail for season 3 because he did get asked. But he was basically like, yeah, it just worked out. And with having stunt doubles that can do the majority of the work, like it works out in their favor, and that's why stunt doubles need to be given a lot more credit than they're worth, or than they're currently given, because they do a lot. And so, and he went on to talk about kind of the parallels between The Last of Us and The Mandalorian, right? Because he's playing another father figure to a lost child. I have no ideas about what The Last of Us is. I'll be watching it because Matt is like, that's coming out. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna watch it. So,
It's
and he
based
never
off
picks
of
stuff.
a it's based off a video game, and it's
Right.
dealing with post-apocalyptic zombie-esque things. So just so
Okay.
you're aware. There will be
I think
jump
I did know
scares,
that part.
so just be aware of that.
Yay! And we're gonna be watching it like when it airs on HBO Max, like House the Dragon. So
I'm a, I'm
excited.
I'm a little upset because the premiere on the 15th I will be working. So I'm going to have to try to stay off of my phone for like at least 2 hours because from the time that it airs, from the time that I get off, like there will be a large gap of time that like I could possibly see spoilers. Uh so it's gonna be a little hard for me to I'll admit it. I'm addicted to my phone and Twitter. Totally fine with saying it. I'm on there all the time. But yeah, it's gonna be fun to see how that all plays out. But our second news topic is one that had come in earlier. I want to say like even not last week, but the week before that, really. Um,
Yeah,
was something that we had all assumed, but
because I think we had heard rumors about this, and we're like, oh, okay, yes, these rumor sources are very accurate, and it has not been confirmed by anyone with Lucasfilm. And sorry, Clay, I interrupted you, but it's not been like revealed by Lucasfilm. But Bespin Bulletin claimed it as an exclusive, even though this was run previously, saying that Mary Elizabeth Winstead is going to be playing Hera in Ahsoka. Yeah, that's about it. We've talked about this, uh,
I
so
I actually thought about two other topics that we could talk about that again,
Ooh, okay.
not something that has been confirmed from via Star Wars, but something that you did share last Friday in our Star Wars Alliance chat with the project Lindelof is attached to.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that one.
So, of course, it is now rumored or reportedly set in the sequel era. My
Right.
my response was immediately, "Don't give me hope. Like, just don't give me hope, Katie."
I
But
am deep in depression.
no, that is not how 2023 is going to start out this year. No, that's how 2022 started, not 2023. But uh I think it was Snell uh that said that this was something that was reported. We couldn't really remember, but there was reports basically saying that it was going to be shooting near April, so in just 3 to 4 months from now, which is absolutely crazy to think about, considering just a few months ago, everybody in the Star Wars fandom was thinking, "Oh, Star Wars doesn't make movies anymore."
Yeah, pretty much. Um, it'll be interesting to see, especially with the rumors, with Kathleen Kennedy retiring. Like, I don't think you would start shooting a film if you're like, oh, okay, we're gonna bring in a new director of Lucasfilm. They're gonna take charge. Like, I would go, oh, okay, similar to what happened with DC. I want to see their vision. Let's just delay films a little bit longer and let's let them take charge and like do all the things. Again, we don't know Kathleen Kennedy's retiring for certain, but that's my opinion on it. Um, Charmine Obaid Shinoy. Oh my gosh, I keep butchering that. I've got to look it up how to pronounce her name. Who directed the Pakistani episodes in Miss Marvel is set to direct still. And it will. They're saying it will be set in the sequel trilogy, but that our sequel heroes are going to play back burner roles. And that the new lead of this film is going to be a woman of color. So I'm applauding the woman of color part. How do you feel, Clay, about
So
sequel heroes going to the back burner?
again, this goes all the way back to our conversations. And I say all the way back. This is a conversation that we literally had a little bit of last week and that we periodically have because it is a large worry when it comes to what the general audience thinks of and looks at when thinking of Star Wars. Are there going to be lightsabers? Is this woman of color going to have a badass double bladed lightsaber? Is she going to have like freaking uh like that's the thing. Is it going to be Jedi centric? Is really what I'm trying to get at. And with our possible sequel era characters playing in the background, I think it's okay for the introduction of this new hero, but I need them to come back to the forefront because there was still a lot of those characters that we still would like to see. And I understand, you know, there could all of a sudden be an announcement tomorrow that, you know, Random House Worlds and Disney Publishing is now focusing all of their next phase of books being in the sequel era, and they're gonna have canon books, releasing in 2024. They could
Yeah.
legitimately do that. But I would love to see Finn and Ray, Poe, possibly. I still don't know how Oscar Isaac feels about coming back to Star Wars. Uh, but I feel like I would just love to see them on the big screen again, especially Finn and exploring the possibility of him being force sensitive and possibly becoming a Jedi. I would definitely love to see that on the big screen.
I think so too, but the biggest thing, right, is that is it's the balance field of Star Wars, right? You want to bring in new characters, but you also want to see stories continue. And so it's like it's a two-edged sword, right? And we saw it with the sequel trilogy, with all of like the reactions to how Luke was perceived. So the question remains, right? Is the perception of Rey as a hero, or Poe as a hero, Finn as a hero, is that all going to have shifted in the minds of people because of like the time span between the movies? And it hasn't been as long, right, between the original trilogy and sequel trilogy. But obviously there's been some time. It's been 3 years. People are writing their fan fictions because that's what we do nowadays. And so it's a little I'm I'm nervous.
I am nervous as well. I just had like a giant allergy attack just now. Sneezing up a storm over here. I'm sorry. But I I hope it happens. I really do. I hope that it happens. I hope I see them. The fact that this is moving forward though gives me hope in seeing those small, advancements in the story and everything else. So,
Right.
and I mean, would I absolutely hate it if Ray gets a like sort of Shadow of the Sith-esque story on Disney Plus? No. And now when I say Shadow of the Sith-esque, I'm not saying that it's kind of like verbatim. I'm just saying like a really cool action adventure type of
Exploration
story.
into
Exploration. Yeah,
being a
exactly.
Skywalker or a Jedi, whatever she chooses to name her people.
Exactly. Uh
Um, the biggest thing, right, is that we want the story to continue in some way, shape, or form.
yes.
And let's stop dilly dallying. Like, let's figure this out. That's what Lucasfilm buying or Disney buying Lucasfilm was supposed to be. Let's figure out the future of Star Wars. And you didn't figure it out past episode 9.
Yeah. And again, we've had the discussions about like do you structure Star Wars like that of a Marvel and what DC is trying to do with like multiple films with planned TV and everything else? You can, but does it work well? Like there isn't necessarily a Avengers type of moment that I can picture within Star Wars. Like
Yeah.
in the sense of spoilers for a almost 4-year-old movie now, with Endgame, there isn't a Avengers Assemble moment that I can think of with like all of these characters coming up and they're like about to fight or whatever. Like I don't necessarily think I need that for Star Wars. Would it be cool if in a string of TV and movies that a whole bunch of characters that we get to see be created and legacy characters now interacting? I would be okay with that. I think that would be great to tell a bigger story. But we'll see how it goes. I think with the Lindelof movie and of course the Sean Levy movie as well. moving forward, I do think they're finally like getting a good footing. So I'm hoping for the best.
And the best is all we can hope for.
Yeah. Uh, but the main topic of today, Katie, I used to, I used to be able to stay up until 2 a.m. watch these new shows that the GOA is always plugged in on. Of course, this uh time of the year, and of course, we are talking about the Bad Batch season 2. I got home really late from work, was just playing on my phone, watching a YouTube video here, a YouTube video there, and all of a sudden I realized it's 1:30 in the morning. I was like, "You know what? I'll read a couple comics until it's time to watch the Bad Batch." I fell asleep at 1:45. And then I
Which
did not
comic were
wake.
you reading? I don't ever want to read that comic.
Well, I mean, it was 1:45 in the morning. I don't think it was the comic that put me to sleep. I think it was the fact that it was
I know it was a
1:45 in the
joke.
morning.
It was a joke.
But I did not get the time because I woke up and I like had to like run out the door basically to get to work on time. I didn't get to watch this until my lunch break. Um, but I think even these 2 episodes felt like they were the same but different in terms of the uh the tone and what the show really is. It has clearly evolved. Um Characters have aged up and whatnot. Um I will go ahead and say, and we will talk about it in greater length because the cliffhanger that episode 2 left us on, my jaw dropped. And more so because I don't think that would have happened in season 1. With how like
Yep.
yes, I get that this like especially at the end of season 1, it was a much darker story. The cliffhanger that we're left on at the end of at the end of episode 2 of this season, was just like, wow, that was on Disney Plus. This is on Disney Plus. Like
In a
what?
kid show.
Yeah,
Remember, Bob was it Bob Chapek? I think it was Chapek. Chapek is like, oh yeah, animations for kids. Everybody and their mother is shutting down animation like projects and stuff. Like, oh yeah, we'll figure that out another time. Blah 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 blah. And it's just like that was in a kid show.
it is insane. But I loved these 2 episodes. We got to see a glimpse of Wanda Sykes' uh character. That's really the only new character that we got to see in these 2 episodes, I
Yeah, there
believe.
is obviously you have like the new clones and stuff. We're getting to meet like clone troopers for the first time. And then you have one of my favorite guest appearances of the season, Hector Elizondo. Uh in the second to last episode. It's just a guest appearance. He's voicing a character there. But I texted Clay, was like, oh my gosh, guess who's in a Star Wars?
You when you even teased it with a GIF, and then you're like, "You wanna know?" And I was like, "Yes." You're like, "Look at the GIF." And I was like, "Well, it's clearly not gonna be freaking, what's her name? I can't even remember her
Anne
name right now.
Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. And so I was really excited to see that he was gonna be, attached to Star Wars. And his voice is so distinctful. As soon as you hear it, you're like, "Yes, that is him." And he just feels right at home, especially
Yes.
in the aspect of he's almost like oddly enough like gave me really big Geppetto vibes. Uh,
Yeah.
with the toys and everything, talking to Omega, trying to teach her something. Uh, and by the way, uh Omega has still, like, she has grown into even more of a badass that she was starting to be a badass at the end of season 1. We got to see some of her uh growth in action in season 1, but here, like, just the opener in itself, I think played out really, really well, which was basically the teaser to this season, with like the tropical island-esque planet that they were at with all the crabs and stuff, um,
Yeah.
hanging from the ship. I thought was really, really cool. Uh, but yeah, I really enjoyed these. Is there anything like specific that you're wanting to point out? Oh well, Omega is
Oh,
well, go ahead, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say the whole episode takes place on Sereno, and it's about
Yes.
the basically everybody knows Dooku's dead, and the Empire's like, oh, let's go raid his war chest, aka the Separatist treasury. And so they go and raid that, and the Bad Batch's goal is to take some of that and make a profit off of it. So that is like the main goal of these two episodes. So it is a two-parter, which is why it's present which is why it's here at the premiere for two episodes instead of just one. So you're not dealing with a mega cliffhanger. Um, but yeah, it's a really poignant episode about like, oh, okay, we're trying to survive. Omega gets to actually learn as a kid. Like, she doesn't feel, she feels more like a kid in these episodes, and like the Bad Batch Clone Force 99 is actually teaching her. She's learning, and she has kid moments. She's allowed to make mistakes, and that's what I appreciated about these episodes and really the whole season.
I really like the um her schooling that she is doing.
Yeah.
And you would think, okay, well, somebody her age, probably doing a lot of science, a lot of math. No, it's
Mhm.
hey, this is the ships that you need to learn. You need to know the ins and outs of all these ships. You need, like, I'm sure she's gonna have to learn how to freaking use a oh shoot, what do they use it? What do they call it in the Star Wars universe? I remember that
Navi
uh
computer?
yeah, well, no, even Jern Urso was learning how to use them with Saw Gerrera to like pick locks and keypad or uh
Yeah. Like the
mask.
slicer things.
Yes, the slicers. Um, I'm sure that is part of her schooling as well. And I hope that we get more of it throughout the season. Um, because even in this episode, I think it was in technically the second episode when they are on the freighter
Mhm.
and the escape pods are all shot out. They're like, okay, well, there's got to be a way off this ship. How do we get out of here? She's like, oh, this is a class 4 freighter. This means that if you do this and this, we can escape with ease. And even Tech was like, huh, I'm
I'm
impressed.
impressed.
Look at that. And and he had two moments like this, which kind of got a little annoying, but of course it is his personality. There was two moments in these episodes that were almost verbatim in his verbiage, where he was like, "Oh, this is happening. Our window is closing." And then like another instance happened. He's like, "Oh, well, if we're going to do this, our window is closing." And I was just like, is that poor writing or is it just something that Tech would say? Uh
Yeah.
so I I kind of just waved it off. Uh, but I do like, even with her learning, she's like, okay, well, the thrusters should kick off any minute now. And that's where it left you with the cliffhanger in the first episode. And then we go back to the second episode, and the thrusters finally kicked off, but it still leaves them in a bind. But the one thing that I love about Bad Batch is, and I know some people, Snell, do not like about the Bad Batch, is that each of these characters are so distinctive, just like how our clones were in Clone Wars. Um, and people would think, oh well, it's not necessarily uh, anything special. Why are they the Bad Batch? But I just love the way Wrecker is. He's silly, he's stupid at times, but he's great.
Yeah.
Knocking out the guard. He's like, "What? I did it quietly. You told me to do it quietly." Uh,
And then jumping
just
on the thing, Hunter's like, "Oh, it's stuck." And Wrecker's like,
I
"What did
saw
it
it. I saw that coming a mile away. Still enjoyed it. Uh,
work?"
and then him tearing off the tank cannon and then
Yep.
shooting it with his arms. He's like, "Oh, I would make a great tank," and then he's just running and shooting people. It's just great. It's
You
absolutely amazing. Um, but
and he has his
also,
funny moments. He has his funny moments, but I feel like he also used more of his brain, I
yes,
guess, in doing so. So he has the funny moment, but it's earned because the tank, Hunter's like, I have no idea what to do. Like, there's no battery powering in, and Wrecker's like, hand me that. Sticks it in. Tank.
yeah, he's like, "Oh, well, we don't need to operate it. You just need to give me
Mhm,
the battery pack, and I'll do the rest." Um, but the kind of controversy of the episode, because there's always going to be some sort of controversy within the group to make the story compelling, right? um
mhm,
and this one is Omega overhears Hunter and Echo
mhm.
talking, and how they should you know live normal lives. They should just not stop doing this. Echo's like, "Oh well, we don't have normal lives because of Omega." And again, kind of out
Mhm.
of context, but Omega hears this and she's kind of depressed about it. She still has the stuffed animal that Wrecker gave her in season 1. I really appreciated that. Um, but it goes on, this topic kind of goes on later on, and Omega is so determined to complete the mission. And she ultimately wants to make her team proud and make her feel like it's worth their time, because of course she caused them to not have normal lives.
Yep.
And in my mind, I'm just thinking, Omega, they're not living normal lives because they're clones. They're not living normal lives because Echo only has one arm. They're not living normal lives because Wrecker is a giant of a man. Like, I'm sorry, like it's more than just you, girl. I'm sorry. I know you're
And
special, but
but that's also the kid part, right? Is that
yeah,
she doesn't realize that. Like she may have worked with Nala Se and like understood, hey, I'm cloning people, but she doesn't understand the personality stuff. And also I think she understands like the mutation part, but also like the fact that of the matter is, even with all of those mutations, they still have a soldier ingrained in them. They were trained to be soldiers, and this is what they do. So Echo is really striving to like do more against the Empire, and I love that for him because I felt like he was really let down as a character in season 1, especially with some of the episodes that we were able to get in Clone Wars. So I liked seeing this part of him and allowing that to come out.
yeah. Um, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. One critique that I kind of had, and again, this kind of goes with the style of the show. The oh, you got a job, you go on a mission, you come back, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, is that I feel like, other than the fact that there was the name drop of Count Dooku, the actual mission wasn't anything special. And it kind of felt like anything else they would have done in any other episode. But for the sake of the reason why it became so special was the name drop of Dooku. Uh And so that's just a small critique of mine. I wish that, I hopefully in this season we won't have a moment like the uh although good episode, the episode with Hera when she was younger.
Mhm.
Um and they're just like a cameo dump and exposition and all of this other stuff. Uh I want to explore a little bit more. I want to have a little bit more fun. I want to see things different. So hopefully we get more of that in this season. Uh but the whole motivation behind this mission was I forgot her name, Sid,
Yep.
right? Sid
Yep, Sid.
told them that whatever cut that they get from this mission would quote unquote buy their freedom, and one cut of this job would be more than all of the jobs that they did combined.
Yep.
So, of course, that is very high motivation for everybody else. Hunter is one that was like, nah, I'd rather not. It would put a lot of heat on us. I don't know how much time has passed. Katie, do you know how much time?
So on Wikipedia, it's still listed as 19 BBY, which is right after Revenge of the Sith. So, but we were told that like they've grown up a little bit. And obviously you can kind of see that in the way Omega looks.
Yes.
I found a fun fact on Star Wars today, and it's just a reminder, Omega is technically older than Clone Force 99.
Yeah.
They were grown in 1 to 2 years and she has had a full life cycle. So it's just kind of interesting when you look at it that way.
Well, the reason why I'm asking the time frame is because Hunter does mention that they have stayed off of the Empire's radar since the ending of season 1.
Yep. Probably about 2 to 3 years is what we're looking at. And there's no clear inclination of how long time has passed
And the
in the
the
whole
only
season.
I feel like the only inclination is the visual clue of Omega being much older.
I take back what I said. There is one other clue in the season. I can't tell you what it is. But there is one other
We
clone. I think it's next episode. But
Oh, really?
mhm.
I'm excited for that. Um, but I mean, we will see how it goes. Katie has, of course, gotten the chance to watch everything
I'm
except for
sorry I
the
keep teasing you
finale.
with it, Clay. We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get
we
them
we w- we
ourselves.
and I mean, again, I love the opportunities that we get to read things in advance, to you know hopefully in the future I get the chance to watch something in advance. But I do like being in the now with these things. Especially with, I will go ahead and tease this. We have a special announcement next episode that will give the opportunity for all of you to get more involved with us. So, um, is there anything else in these episodes that you want to kind of touch on? Anything kind of stand out to you?
Think so? Um, this was just I finished these episodes and was like, "Oh, okay. I'm excited to keep watching. Like, let's see how it goes." And things just continue to get better, y'all. Like, this really is so much better.
See, the only thing that really bothers me with you being able to watch all of this, except for the last 2 episodes, of course, and me having questions about like, "Oh, could this possibly happen?" You can't say, but also, like, the answer. So, like, I'm a little irked because one of the questions that I was legit gonna ask you is, uh in these first 2 episodes premiering season 2, uh Tech gets hurt,
Uh,
and there's a moment at the end of the second episode where he's in a firefight and he collapses. And I'm like, there's no way Tech is dead. No way whatsoever. Of course, he was just exhausted, of course, from his injuries and everything else. He wakes back up. And I was legit going to ask you, do you think they could kill off anybody from the Bad Batch this season? But you've watched nearly everything and you can't say, and you already know the answer if it is yes or no. So it's not even
Yeah,
like I'm asking a genuine question to you.
because like I could answer it and go, okay, this is what I would have thought, like without having seen everything. But then people are just gonna go, oh, that's a hint. That's a hint. So I'm just yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
exactly. So I can't ask
If you
any
want, I can
question.
answer it privately where there will be no like inclinations of like what happened. Like I'm being honest. So
No, no, because Lucasfilm, she is not sharing any information about this at all. Don't shut us down. Um,
no, and just as a reminder to everyone, I got the screeners through Full Circle Cinema. So that is why Clay doesn't have them. So if you want to continue to support me getting screeners through them until like we can get screeners, go check out my written review. It's on fullcirclecinema.com. And like I greatly appreciate you getting those views to my written review. So
yes, I will be reading it tomorrow on my day off. Um, but let's go ahead and touch up on that last scene that I teased.
yes.
The the scene that I can't believe is in a kids show. I I knew a small part of me was like, "Hey, Clay, you should possibly rewatch Bad Batch season 1 so you know people's names if people were to show up in this season." The commander or general?
Admiral Rampart.
Admiral. The admiral that comes up. What was his name again?
Rampart.
Rampart. He is speaking to clone. It starts with a W.
We don't remember. Wilco? I
Something
don't
like
think
that.
it's Wilco.
It's something similar to that. Um about the incident that happened in these two episodes. And he says, "But there seems to be something off about your report. Um and that is that you claim that
Clone
uh
Force 99 is here.
Clone Force 99 was here. And that is impossible because they're dead." And the clone trooper is like, no, I saw them with my own eyes. I confirmed two of them. They're alive." He's like, but you're gonna fix that report. You're actually gonna put in a new report stating that they're not alive because if they were, that would make me look like a really big idiot. And he walks away. And I'm really surprised this part happened, not only because of what happens at the end, but the fact that the clone trooper actually said, "I cannot falsify my report." This surprised me because I feel like, again, the whole part of last season, good soldiers follow orders. And I would assume that these troopers could just, legit be not mind manipulated, but would just follow orders without question. And seeing that there are still clones out there that can have a mind of their own was a bit surprising.
Well, and so that's the thing, right? Is you got to remember the whole reason they went with clones instead of droids was because they had the ability to understand the situation and could make other decisions that were for the best of like the force that they were working for. And that's why like Anakin loved Rex so much was because Rex was willing to improvise and kind of go against the command structure when Kenobi or Admiral Yularen would give them different
Mhm.
orders, and Anakin would be like, no, we're not doing this. Order 66, that was the only thing that they were actually programmed to be droids for. Was, okay, you're gonna kill all these Jedi. But you look at Clone Force 99, and in the opening episodes in the movie episode for the Bad Batch at the beginning of season 1, they're like working, and the clones are like, oh yeah, we've got to hunt down the Jedi, and Clone Force 99 is like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not what we're gonna do at all. Like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily good soldiers follow orders, it's good soldiers question orders that don't make sense.
Yeah.
So
So he questions that order.
mhm.
He doesn't even question it. He denies it. He says, "I
Yeah.
will not falsify my report." And he says, "Oh, well, that's too bad. I will." You hear the charge of the blaster. Like, he turns
Mhm.
around. You see the admiral pointing the blaster at him. You hear the actual blaster go off, and then it goes to a wide shot, and you just see the clone trooper falling off the edge. Absolutely insane. Uh Again, you didn't see him actually pull the trigger. You didn't actually see him get blasted, but just the overall sequence of events that happened immediately one after the other. This felt like such a darker show in that moment.
And overall, this is a darker show. I think kids can still watch it. Don't get me wrong. I think kids can still watch it, but this is 100%. It explores some very dark elements of not just the Empire, but I guess it's mainly just the Empire. You could say there's like a little bit in like the start of Rebellion, but it's mostly like, oh, let's explore what the Empire is actually doing and how dark it is. So,
I'm really excited to see how dark it gets um with the rest of this season. Um I guess the only thing I have over you, Katie, is that we will both have to watch the finale together. Um
I don't know. I could get it early. Who knows? I could
don't
get it early.
stop it.
You're gonna have to take that day off, and we'll just see what happens.
Yes, of course. But we will Katie has already teased it and said it. She has seen the entire season other than the season finale, the last two episodes. So she will be giving her non-spoiler review of the entire season here that you can watch on YouTube in conjunction of this episode, of course. But if you are listening to the audio version, it will be a separate episode, so you can go search that out if you would like. So I think that is everything that we have on the Bad Batch first two episodes this season premiere. So you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. Um, Man, I almost forgot my entire spiel here. Go check out my other shows on the network, of course, that being Ranger Alliance. Like I said, me and Joe reviewed the 2017 Power Rangers movie. We did some do's and don'ts for the future of Power Rangers over at Netflix. And go check out my other show, not on the network, Batman News Weekly. Me and my co-hosts recently did, of course, the top 10 Batman books of 2022. And we're ramping up to record our very first episode of 2023 that should be out the day after this hits podcasts.
Whoop, whoop. All right, y'all. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Hive, and on the internet at Slice of Katie, and the website is sliceofkatie.com. This show you can find on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Star Wars Alliance with the A in the Wars. You can also find us on oh my gosh, what is the one that starts with an M? Mastodon. And I still have not created a Hive account. going to, because I'm gonna knock on some wood, but I think Twitter's gonna survive. So, and I'm lazy on social media. Okay, we all know this by now. That is also that username is also where you can find us on Gmail. If you are not a social media user, you can reach out to us via Gmail. Um, and I pay attention to that. I check that once a day. So you can send us stuff there, and we can answer questions or anything. We don't typically ask for a lot of questions, guys, but if you have questions, we are more than open to taking them. I promise we love answering questions, because sometimes, like today, we don't really have a lot of news to talk about, and so questions come in handy. So there's that. My other show on the Geek Ultimate Podcast Network is at Slice of Film 1 on Twitter. And that show we dropped Glass Onion spoiler review. I forgot to send a tweet that said the spoiler review was out, um, because we had some technical difficulties, but that is out, so you can go check it out. Mark and I did that, and it was a great episode, I think, y'all. So we talked about spoilers. So, and then uh, the next episode for that is either Indiana Jones or Mission Impossible. I forgot which one I told Clay to put out first.
It'll
So.
be Mission Impossible is the next episode. Um, Tomorrow I will be working on your Indiana Jones, as well as finally watching Knives Out. Well, sorry,
Glass
Glass
Onion.
Onion, a Knives Out mystery. So editing that episode was very crafty in my mind. Trying to skip over things and rewind and
You
fast
thought I
forward.
took good notes.
But yes, go check out all of those episodes for sure.
And Nathan is in the chat. Just totally forgot about the Bad Batch being tonight. Yep. I think a lot of people were planning on that, especially after last season. But don't worry, Nathan. If you want to stick around, we're gonna talk. I'm gonna talk about the full season. So.
You want to go ahead and close us out for the regular episode, though, Katie?
All right, y'all. I want to thank everyone for being here, whether you're listening or watching. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day or night, whatever time of day you're listening or watching. Jeez, I forgot my own outro. Um, and we will see y'all next time. May the force be with you. All right, y'all. So, The Bad Batch season 2. Um just for the podcast, people who were catching on there, I was able to watch episodes 1 through 14 via screeners for Full Circle Cinema. And so I have written a full review there, and I would greatly appreciate if y'all go check out the review there, so I can keep getting screeners from them. But let's talk about the season. The season, while it doesn't necessarily avoid the appearance of the week method from season 1, it moves beyond that and goes into something like an Indiana Jones style adventure of the week, while still allowing for a character growth. There's a lot more of that spread out around the full Bad Batch this season, but then there's more episodes dedicated to plot, or more episodes that actually explore the plot. And the season definitely takes some very dark turns, and those adventures of the week episodes really help bring some needed levity, especially after some episodes that can occur. So that's kind of the overall review kind of thing. Um, it definitely feels more overarching in nature. There are I'm trying to figure out because I want to like expand on what I wrote in the review, but I'm also like, sorry y'all, I did not rehearse this. Clearly. Um the plot points feel more purposeful to the season, and it's not just a okay, where are we going? Does the Bad Batch have any purpose to the greater galaxy far, far away? Uh, and it's clearly getting there. You get I like Mount Tantus, for instance. Oh, which is another thing that I was gonna say about Heir to the Empire, Clay. Heir to the Empire is the introduction of Mount Tantus. So you'll get some background on that, and what it
And
is
I
in Legends.
didn't we mention that at the end of season 1? I feel like we did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we
Yeah, yeah,
did.
yeah.
So, and that and that's why I'm kind of excited to go through it. Um, is because I think it'll help a lot of people go, okay, this is what it was for. But yeah. Nathan's asked, still A team in space or more purpose? It's definitely more purpose driven, and the characters definitely become their own management. I feel like they are more picky with what they do and work together as a unit instead of Hunter just being, oh yeah, this is where we're going. This is where we're going. Following Sid's instructions. I think that's safe to say. Yes, that is. Um, but yeah, purposeful, definitely. It definitely feels more purposeful. The the plot points for an overarching story could have been brought in sooner. However, where they're brought in feels right. And that so it's a very minor complaint that is, but like it when it comes in, it's like full force straight ahead, like it knows what it's doing kind of thing. Which I greatly appreciated, especially after like, oh, the last 3 episodes are where we're gonna get the main plot for the full story. We're gonna jump from episode 1 and get to the last 3 episodes, and that's where we are. The what I kind of said this already, but the characters greatly improved. Hunter is not the only one getting development. Omega is not the only one getting development. Um, like Wrecker, for instance, much more manageable, no longer just the butt of the joke. And he actually like uses his brain instead of just being like the muscle. Uh Episodes where Crosshair is present are some of my absolute favorites of the season. Like they're phenomenal how good they are. And just the exploration of the dark side, not the dark side, but the empire as a whole and the darkness that has come with it kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um Omega doesn't feel like she's an adult anymore either, which is great. She's allowed to be a kid while still having the experiences of how she's growing up in the Star Wars universe. So that's good. And the other thing is Tech. I love Tech so much in this season. He's just great. That's all I could really say there. And Fee, who we got to meet in the first 2 episodes, played by Wanda Sykes, is an absolute worthy addition to Star Wars. She's great. I love her. So much more palatable than Sid. I still cannot stand Sid at all. I don't know what the team saw in her in season 1 or continues to see in her. So, um, the animation for the show is still continues to be gorgeous. And all of the locations showcased around the Star Wars galaxy, and there's several new locations, are absolutely stunning and bring off a really good vibe. There were some episodes where I was like, okay, this is gonna throw a bone to a like this in Star Wars media, but they didn't choose to do that and instead like threw in some random thing, uh, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just I was like, oh, okay, this would be the perfect case to do this and draw attention to that kind of thing. I'm not gonna say what it is because that would like spoil it. So sorry guys. Um
We almost had it. We almost got her.
you almost did. um the team overall just feels like there's more growth and it's going at a consistent pace instead of jumping all over the place. So, there is still work to be done in, I guess, getting the appearance of the clones correct. That is one thing to mention. Is that even with the mutations, you could still get like skin tones more correct and everything. So there's that. The plot for the show is highly intriguing, and I'm just gonna say, you may want to catch up on some Clone Wars. Go that way. That's my hint.
Wait,
Um,
wait, wait. Say that again.
you may
Catch
want
up.
to just refresh your Clone Wars knowledge.
Okay. More so than what the trailers have already teased us for?
Yes.
Ooh, okay, okay.
Because Nathan asked any saber action, and this was in the trailer. But yes, Gunji is present. And as you can see in the trailer, he uses his saber. So, there is that episode.
I feel like there's
I
something else
I'm
there.
struggling
I
so
feel
hard.
I feel like there's something else there. Nathan, you almost had her. I see. I like this. I was about to dip out for this part, but seeing Katie squirm a little bit is actually kind of fun. Um, so I'm trying to think if there's any follow-up questions that I have. Because everything sounds, of course, intriguing. I love to hear any and all of this. Uh, is there okay, so this is probably a question that you cannot answer, and I totally understand it. Um, I do know that there's a little bit of a yes in this answer. I think I'm pretty sure. But is there any very obvious connections to any of the live action TV shows that we've gotten on Disney Plus?
I feel like I can answer this because it was in an interview. There's not been several. There's not been any I noticed. And the director acknowledged that, but it's basically because this is so early in the timeline, and you've got like Obi-Wan Kenobi and or were the two shows he specifically mentioned. Those two shows are at the back half of the space between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So the connections aren't going to be firm.
Well, yeah, I was talking more so like if there was anything because we had talked about how like it would be very odd um if there was any kind of obvious uh breadcrumbs towards that of like a Mandalorian
Mhm.
connection. Um and I think there was somebody I can't remember what website it was saying that there may have been a small Mandalorian connection via a scientist or somebody connected to the Empire. But again, it may have been a fan theory or whatever. I've just like was scrolling
Well, we
past it.
talked about like the clones in season one potentially leading to Snoke, right? Um, so that's about all I'll lead to. I'm not gonna say that's a yes or a no, but like we talked about that, like leading to a connection with Rise of Skywalker and going, oh, okay, we know like they were trying to use Grogu for something scientific, and that kind of the symbols have lined up. But yeah, that's it.
All right, all right. Uh Nathan says, "Oh yeah, that clone guy
Yeah.
from Mando."
Hit Dr. Pershing, I think is what his name is. When we saw Mount Tantus at the end of season one, the symbols aligned between their two uniforms.
Okay.
And they looked very similar. So that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Um Nathan asked, do we get any Star Destroyer action? Honestly, I don't remember.
But is there anything
Um,
else that you can kind of give us or
Echo definitely grows into his own, and he feels more like Clone Wars. Um, Echo for sure. Let me look up one more thing. Um, Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna scan this real fast because I didn't put a whole lot of stuff in here because I've never done one of these reviews before, obviously. So I was nervous about what to put in. So I'm gonna scan Maggie's review real fast.
Okay. I because I think my question kind of really was the only one that I had. Because I don't want to make you squirm too much on like tell me if this happens. Because I think of course some of the obvious things you've already mentioned crosshair. These are just my assumptions. Of course, you don't have to react or anything to give anything away, or maybe you will. Um, of course, I do think that the whether it be in the finale that neither of us have seen, or in the episodes that are leading up to it, I do think there will be another episode where Crosshair and the Bad Batch have to uh, share the same space, and if that means working together, I definitely think it might happen again. But I don't like I do expect it to happen again, but I don't necessarily want it to happen again because I feel like that does tend to get into like the category of repetitiveness, and I don't want
Mhm.
that in this show, you know?
Yeah. So Nathan asked, "Is there any Thrawn connections?" And actually Matt was asking me this because he saw me reading Heir of the Empire. And no, it's actually too early for Thrawn to occur as we know the timeline right now. So Bad Batch season 2, 19 BBY. That's what Wikipedia has, and we don't know any other really chronological efforts made in there. The Thrawn novel starts off in 16 BBY, and it goes to 2 BBY. So it's, maybe you could get a Thrawn connection in like season 4, maybe. But yeah. Um, So the orchestration, the music, because that's something I forgot about. Kevin Kiner, the Kiner Bros, I think is technically, but he has done all of Star Wars animation and has done really great work. So and it continues to be huge in this show. Well, he met Anakin during Clone Wars. Oops, sorry, you were clicking it at the same time. But remember, in the end of the Ascendancy trilogy, he's sent to the planet. So yes, he gets to meet Anakin in the Clone Wars, but he's also banished and is like escorted around planet to planet, until he makes contact with somebody in the Empire, which is in 16 PPY.
Yeah.
So, does that make sense? Does that make sense,
Yeah.
Nathan? I hope that does. Um, I think that's about it. I I don't want to say too much more, but yes, highly recommend Clone Wars episodes. Like just refresh your Clone Wars knowledge. So
All right. Will write
that may
that
have been too
down.
much of a spoiler, but like honestly, like we like the trailer had Rex and the trailer had Cody. So those are two characters of the Clone Wars.
Now, also, remind me if I'm wrong. Didn't season 1 end with Rex like saying, "Hey, I got a job for you guys"?
I don't remember. I didn't catch up on season 1 before watching.
I need to watch at least the last 3 episodes of season
Yeah.
1. Um, but I'll have to double check. Um, but thank you for the insight. Again, I think this just you were already teasing me, and then you were teasing all of us in the Star Wars chat, and then teased us more in the GUA chat. So like I was already prepared to like have a good time with this season, but with a little bit more insight, I'm really excited to see what this season holds. But yeah, it's gonna be a very fun ride.
It definitely will. So y'all make sure you're tuned in every Wednesday for this because this is I again just to say it one more time, so much better than season one. Like, and it truly like is some of the most heartfelt stuff in Star Wars.
Yeah. But of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. Check out the shows that I'm attached to, of course, that being Ranger Alliance and Batman News Weekly. Katie, where can they find you?
So you can find me at Slice of Katie on Twitter, Instagram, Hive, and Mastodon. That is also where you can find me on the interwebs, sliceofkatie.com. This show you can find on Twitter and Instagram. It is at Star Wars Alliance about the A in the Wars. Very important, don't forget it. We're also on Hive and stuff. So there's that. That is also where you can find us on Gmail, Star Wars Alliance without the A in the Wars at gmail.com, but just like end it at Alliance. Just don't forget there's no A in Wars. Um, so if you're not on social media, you can feel free to email us. Y'all, we love getting questions. So if you have questions, we're terrible about asking for them, but it really we love getting to answer them. So we're always happy to accept questions or comments or concerns. So make sure you know where to reach us on any of those. Next week for the show, we're going to be talking about Bad Batch again, episode 3. So you can check it out there. Um, and then Heir to the Empire is coming next. So that is what you can come to expect. My other show on the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network is Slice of Film 1 on Twitter. We've got Glass Onion spoiler review, and then we also have Mission Impossible coming up, as well as Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So those are what you can come to expect next. And with that, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you are listening or watching. And we will see y'all next time. Bye, y'all.
See ya.